Well. Welcome to the Women Are Worthy show. And for those who are watching us on YouTube, welcome to the Women Are Worthy network. Let me say this again because I flubbed that, okay? Because we're not going to talk about the guests right now because I'm like so juiced up right now. But anyway, welcome to the Women Are Worthy network if you're watching us on YouTube. Today's show, I was raised by a single dad, and this person that okay, let me calm down because I don't want to fanboy him right now. But anyway, I want to talk about single dads. For me, a single dad is someone who is not with a partner. He's single and he's a dad. That's my definition of a single dad. It doesn't matter if you're co-parenting. That's what I call being a single dad. So I want to talk about some statistics. In the United States alone, there are nearly 13.6 million single parents raising over 21 million children. Damn, I didn't know it was that many. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. Gage Edwards. He's an entrepreneur. He's co-parenting and raising a beautiful young lady. I'm not going to mention her name because she's underage. If he wants to mention her, he can. Mr. Gage Edwards. How are you, Gage?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Well, first of all, let me put this out there, okay? When I say you're my best friend in my head, you're my best friend in my head. Okay. Whenever I see you, it's almost like back in, I don't know how old you are, you would put the person up on the wall. My husband has this love-hate with you, and he's going to be talking to you about that. Okay.
Okay, great. You had a poster in your room when you were growing up?
Yeah, nice. But recently you're now on my wall, okay? And he's having issues with that, okay? He's having major issues. Today's show is sponsored by PCT Cleaning. And if you please call them, they're COVID certified. Their number is 404-630-8998. Now, Mr. Edwards, let's get it on. I'm just so excited. Let's get the elephant out of the room.
First of all.
Yeah. You're welcome. Let's get the elephant out of the room. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's do that first. I want to go back to, we all know that you co-parent your daughter with Jeff Lewis. And I want to know how has been and things like that. So let's go through that first.
Well, you had mentioned before, her name is Monroe. I mean, she was born on TV, so everyone knows that. And he speaks about her frequently as well. Yeah, so co-parenting has been interesting, but I think that everyone who's in this position, there's not a roadmap for any of it. There's not a roadmap for parenting. There's not a roadmap for co-parenting, and sometimes it goes really, really well, and you hear Gwyneth Paltrow talking about conscious uncoupling, and it's like that wasn't my experience, but we're learning to navigate however best we can for the moment that we're in. And I think that, we're both doing things that we think are right for our daughter and working to do the best for her. And I think be the best for her.
Well,
so it's been interesting.
But you're doing a great job.
We're trying. We are trying. Yeah.
And I'm saying this because I was raised by a single dad. So I can say this. Okay. You're doing a great job. And I always say, this is what I say, and some people gets their knickers up. You're preventing her when a single dads are raising their daughter and they're doing it the right way. You're preventing her from swinging on the pole later on. Okay?
I think that's something that we're both very interested in preventing.
Yeah,
for sure.
She's such a strong young lady. Whenever I do, have seen her in pictures and things like that, and listening to how when just talking about her. So let's get into this whole single dad thing. Just tell us your experience. And let's have conversation. I mean, there's questions you can ask me. We can go through it. Let's chop it up.
I mean, I think, and I know we talked a little bit before this too, that you got a little backlash about the single dad, and obviously I'm co-parenting with another dad, which presents its own, I don't think challenges, it makes it a unique situation also for her. I think that one of the things I think that we're probably both very lucky for is that we don't have the competition later in her life with a mom, where suddenly it's a female role and she's just mad at her for whatever reason. Her body's changing. She's just mad at she's gonna be mad at us, sure, but I think that, you know, that kind of thing, having two dads, is something that we've both reinforced from the very beginning. And you know, there was an interesting challenge that happened when she started going to school, and she started telling us, not a story. She was just constantly referring to some of the nannies that worked with her as mom, just because it was a female role. And she kept saying it. She was getting kind of upset about it, because I would say, no, you have two parents, you have two dads, and some kids have two moms, two dads, a mom and a dad. And she got really pissed off. And I had to pull over. I was driving her to school. She was 3. And I had to pull over, and I felt like such a jerk, because I turned around in the car and I said, Monroe, I need you to understand something. You don't have a mom. You don't. And you have 2, and I know why you're doing this. You're going to school, you're seeing other kids show pictures of their mom and their dad and all of that, and you're assessing that. And it's funny because she will mouth things when she's understanding it. She just kind of like moves her lips, and she's talking it through in her head. And that's all you have to do. And I've said her a couple of times, like, you got 2. How many do you have? I have 2. What are their names? And she calls us Daddy Gage and Daddy Jeff. And it just, like, there's just lesson moments like that I think are they're so amazing to see that transpire. And we talked also before, that natural, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't think any parent knows what they're doing. Like, you're figuring this out and navigating as you get to it and as the situation presents itself. And with that in particular, I was like, I had to call a couple of my mom friends after, because I'm like, I just told my kid she doesn't have a mom. Like, who am I? This is terrible. And I felt bad. But then, that's another thing that I think, especially raising a young kid, I don't think you can, and I have friends, I've been fortunate enough to have a couple of friends who have older kids in addition to the kids that Monroe plays with. And they both have said, you cannot parent a 15-year-old. You parent now, and you can't change the where they're already at the teenage years. Is something that I don't think you can adjust it, but if they're set in their ways, they're set in their ways. And I think that that was one situation where, I know of people also that maybe their kids are adopted, or they went through a process of IVF, and they are not forthcoming with that with their kids, and that is obviously their own prerogative. But I think in terms of Monroe, my stance is that let's just address this now. The extent of what you need to know, I don't know that we need to get into it, but you have 2 dads, and later we'll talk about the science when you're ready for science and to understand. But I think that, she's asked also who grew me, and I answered that question to the point, quickly said it, and she just wanted to know, and then that was it. And then a couple weeks later, something came up in a conversation, and she answered, someone grew her in their belly for her daddy Gage and for Daddy Jeff. We loved you so much. And that conversation, I just don't want her to ever feel like I can't trust you and you didn't deliver something. Am I going to get into the details of that? Absolutely not. No, we're not talking about that right now. But then she'll always know, and it'll kind of compound and grow from that point, where she will understand that was the truth from the very beginning. And I think there's just certain instances like that have been kind of great to be able to be the one that delivers that, and delivers it, as delicately as I can. But yeah, so that's, I don't know if that answered any of your questions.
It answered that question, because what you're doing is, listen, there's books out there, but you can't say one book is 100%, right? Because God knows my father didn't use a book. And the way I look at it is, once you lay the foundation, that's what's most important. Because when they said you can't parent a 15-year-old, you lay the foundation. Right. Karen, there's a question out here. Karen says, how do I know he's doing a good job? Well, Monroe appears to be well adjusted, listening to both, when I listen to Jeff's show and listen to
I love that her name is Karen, by the way.
I just thought about that. But so to me, she appears to be well adjusted, because again, I'm sure we would hear about it if she wasn't. And Jeff's doing the best that he can. Gage is doing the best he can. So so to me, she's a well adjusted young lady. So I hope that answers your question.
And I feel like for Karen, there's no one's doing any better than the other. I think that we both. That's something else that, kicks in when you have a kid, what I've realized, and it's affected anyone that I've dated since, or that, and for anyone who doesn't know, Jeff and I were together for 10 years. We had Monroe when we were together for 8 years, I think. And then we split when she was 2. So she, she has 2 houses, and I think the experience at both is what we both come from naturally. I think it's the natural technique of your parenting is based on your parents. And when you then start seeing other people as potential partners in your life down the road, it's really funny because I dig right into your parents. I want to know about your mom or your dad, mom, aunt, 2 moms, 2 dads, whatever it is. I want to know everything quickly because there are issues that brew from that. And when you have a kid, all of those issues are going to come out. And that's something that there's nothing wrong with either way that we parent. She has 2 very different experiences. And I don't think that's bad at all. I think that it's really good. And I actually think, look, I have to make the best of what it is and where we're at, because I do think that I believe this is a situation where the 2 parents are better off. And we're working to heal our friendship relationship, which needs to be there, because this isn't until she's 18. This is until she has her first kid, she gets married, she has her first breakup, she has all these different things in her life. This is not just you got these people like, you have to make it work for 14 more years. And like, try the rest of our lives, because I want her to be in a position where she can trust. I remember both my parents still married, but I remember calling them and saying, I need you both on the phone right now. I need to tell you something. I need advice. I need whatever. That's going to happen with her, I hope. And we have to figure out our stuff, and we're still working through that. But I think this is back to my point. I think this is one of those situations where I think if we both embrace the co-parenting effort, I think that it's actually a really great thing for her. And another point I was trying to make is that there's nothing more. I can't change this. This is where we're at. This is your life. You have 2 houses. You know what's really cool about that? You have 2 birthdays, and you have 2 Christmases, and you have 2 almost everything. So we just have to make it exciting, because it's not. We were actually all 3 of us were actually fortunate, because I feel like a split at 2 is very different from a split at 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. And she vaguely remembers we lived together in one house because we had a swim instructor, and she remembers that and asked specifically. She's like, you were in the pool though. Where did you live? And I told her, I said, I lived there. And then when you moved out of that house, we moved into different houses, and you have 2 houses now, and that's exciting. So when you're thrown in a situation like that, you just have to embrace it. Like, that's the only thing that I have know and have learned, is that this is what it is. Let's make the best of it.
Well, Karen, it wasn't a diss. I mean, we weren't trying to disrespect you, and I know you weren't trying to disrespect us as well. So if you felt that it was a disrespect, I apologize for, wherever you. So it wasn't a disrespect. We just made a remark about your name, so we weren't disrespecting you. But here's the thing.
I'm also, just so you know, a little on guard, because I have a lot of hate that comes through.
But you know what?
For obvious reasons.
Okay,
so
no.
And that's not this platform. So that's my bad, Karen.
Listen. Yeah. Okay, Karen. So he apologized. So this is the thing. We're not going to tolerate trolls, because when I have, and I'm not saying you are, Karen, I'm just putting that out there. On my platform, we talk about positivity. We don't deal with trolls. So if anyone's going to come out here to troll you, I got this.
That's what I've loved too, because people have reached out and said, "Can you do this? Can you do that?" We've kind of gotten to know each other, and I admire and respect your work ethic and your drive, and a lot of the content too of what you're doing. But again, the 3 E's that are on the logo is educating, entertain, and empower. I just think that that's really important. And obviously, raising a girl to the point of sort of being girl dad and being a single dad is that I think that there's so much that maybe is overlooked, and I think culturally we just adapt, and a mom role kind of takes over and takes the reins and handles certain situations with the daughter that a dad's like, I'll hang out with the son, or I'll be there for Sunday dinner, and I think that we have to embrace girls, especially at this age, women in general, but we have to embrace them, because I come from a background of my
wait a minute, I want you to stop for a second, because see, you started.
Don't cry.
Don't
cry yet.
I don't even have my lashes on, and you already have me crying. Oh, you're gonna ruin my makeup. But continue.
But I think that it's important that one of the things that I haven't read a tremendous amount. Again, it's kind of natural things that kick in, and then I look at it later and try to understand why. Why am I doing that? And then there's certain situations too where I'm like telling Monroe, you look in my eyes when I speak to you, or when you're speaking, look in my eyes. And I kept like driving this home for a while, and I'm like, what is something sitting weird with me about that? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm my dad. That's my dad. I
Yes.
hated that. I hated
Yes.
that as a kid, but it's a great point. It's like, so anyways, there's situations like that that pop up, as random as that one is. But that I think you start to see, again, back to how you were parented, and that naturally just kicks in. But I think too, for girls, I mean, I come from a background where on my mom's side, her mom was the first female superintendent of schools in our district, and like had her doctorate, and was very, very intelligent, and strong woman. And that's kind of what I was brought up around. And so I don't know, I see women as truly the most powerful beings. They bring life to the world like that. There's no way around it. You can, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that's what it is. And there's certain shows that I even watch, like cartoons or things that Monroe will start to kind of watch. I'm like, you know what? That show's broken. We can't watch that, because it goes to like dingbat ditzy, this like attitude of just not like, let's learn from this. So we're going to watch something, let's learn from it, and also watch characters that are figuring out the solutions to a problem. There's a show called Helpsters on Apple TV that she loves, that there's two problems in every episode. It's 15 minutes, and they resolve them, and there's a sequence to resolving it. The team forms a plan. And I just think there's things that from now, there are movies and things that kick in that it's like, this is not, I don't want you're not that kind of person. Like you're strong, you're confident. That's my biggest goal with her. Is I think any parent wants that, but you want them to launch where they have self-esteem and self-worth, and they go out into the world and they're able to contribute, but they have to be able to protect themselves. I don't ever want her launching out and not being able to understand a situation that's not great, or a person that's not good. And there's on the sort of topic of shows, we watch a couple of like classic I watched when I was a kid, the old school version, not the new one where they did them with real people and all that stuff. But there's certain villains that are in each one, and she's like, well, I don't want any villains. I don't want any villains. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna let me just explain to me, because I wish someone in my world would have, because there's a lot of things you could have watched out for in life if you just paid attention to the villains of a Disney movie. And there's these different characters. She's like, I don't want them to be around. I said, Monroe, what you need to understand is that they are around, and they're around all of us, but you just need to be aware, and that these kind of people sometimes do things like this. Ursula can try to take your voice away, but you can always get it back in The Little Mermaid.
Right.
Scar tries to convince Simba he killed his dad, but he didn't. So there's people that try to convince you of that. There's just all of these different things that kick in, and I'm like, why wasn't I told that? And why wasn't I paying attention?
But you know what you're talking about, which makes sense, because you can live, let's face it, just because you're living separately, think about this. You can live in the same household with someone, but you're parenting differently. Because I know I was a different parent than my husband. Yeah. I was the stricter one, and he was more, and we just parent differently. And with my friends, because I mentioned to you earlier, let me say it, I've married 32 years, right?
And that's unbelievable. It's amazing.
Yes. And
congratulations.
Thank you. Yes. But no, all fun and jokes aside. But what people don't realize is, and I don't know if the new people, I'm a survivor of sex trafficking, and this had happened after my dad brought someone in the household, a female, and he just relinquished everything to her after a while, and the things just went crazy. So I think it's important that and a lot of things when I was involved in that, by the grace of God, thank God, he instilled certain things in me, because I probably wouldn't have gotten out of it with my wits, or certain things that he instilled with me by being confident, by being this, by being that. So you can live in the same household, two different personalities, parent differently. So I don't want you, not that you said this, but I don't want you to feel bad because Jeff's not with you, or you're not with Jeff in the same household, because we're still going to parent differently. So I commend you for talking to her about the villains, and let's dispel the myth about Prince Charming come riding in on a horse, that kind of thing, that we need him to save us.
Well, yeah, and what I love is that she loves Belle in Beauty and the Beast, and Belle wants more than the provincial life. I mean, she then lands in with a prince, but she's got this handsome, strapping guy who wants her to be. It's a perfect example to be dumb. Don't read your books with no pictures and like that kind of stuff. She on her own, she's like, I don't like Gaston. I want to read books that have words in it, and like and I tell her, I'm like, she's a strong, confident girl. Like she's in control of herself. And it's just funny how you go to that basic level, but you build from that foundation. And I think that's what is so fascinating, that you see it and then it gets more and more complex, and then the problems become more complex. But if you don't build from the one block, you could end up in a world of not trouble, but just dealing with a lot of stuff. And that's with the two households, even disciplining her is difficult, because we're at about 50-50, but it's kind of every other day, which I'm not super thrilled about, and I'm trying to get that adjusted. But the issue is like she'll just say, I'm not doing that. I'm like, well, sweetie, let me explain to you who I am, and let me just remind you that I'm your dad and I make the rules. And I'll ask her and like, why do I make rules? And she will answer now. She's like, because it'll help me be a strong, confident girl, and later when I need to make rules for myself, I'll know how to make them. I'm like, that's okay, great. I guess you were listening. But
wow.
Like I'll discipline her, and just there's like, I need you to clean something up in your room. And no, I'm like, okay, well, I can dig in my heels deeper. So if we're not going to play this game, and you're going to understand quickly that this dad, I'm not playing with any of this. When I say it, I need you to do it. And there will be situations where when you're given an instruction, I need you to follow it, like now. Because there could be, I've told her about even the streets. Like we were walking across a crosswalk, there's a park that's separated. We were with her friends, and she didn't want to move fast enough to get to the crosswalk. We didn't cross with her friends. They went on to the park, had a good time. So we're 5 minutes late. But I said, that's one of those instances where I tell you, we have to go, like now. And I said, and you see all these cars, there could be a moment where you're in danger, and your dads and the grownups around you are here to protect you. And if we give you an instruction, we're doing it to make sure that you're okay. You need to follow it now, right away. And so that's been the most recent thing that's like we're kind of digging into. And I feel terrible because she's upset, she's mad, and then she's digging in her heels and she's crying. I don't need to. And she used to throw out a lot. Fine, I'm gonna go to Daddy Jeff's house and I'm never coming back. And I'm like, all right, that sounds good. She's like, no, I'm kidding. I'm like,
Blackmail.
That's what you want to do. Yeah. I'm like, and I told her, I said, I'm just gonna let you know, if you say that to Daddy Jeff also, that's going to hurt his feelings. And that hurts my feelings when you say it here, because I knew that she was saying it to him too. And so I said, I don't think we should play that game, because that's of course what she's going to do later. She's going to leverage, I want this, and he bought me that. And that game is going to kick in. I know it. And what would be nice is that, we are on a united front to understand that. And there was a situation she did, I think more recently, or maybe it was a couple months ago. And I just called him, I think, in the car. I'm like, hey, Daddy Jeff, Monroe's here with me. Did you say this? He's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, all right, Monroe, so I just need you to understand, when you're going to try to play this game, you better make sure you dotted your I's and crossed your T's, because I'll call him and I'll check in. So we do talk. God. And it's like, don't play that. We're not going to do that. But it's like, again, it's kind of clipping it right now. But it's when I forgot what it was, but it was something, and she was upset, and I felt terrible. And I again called her mom when I dropped her off. Like we had to go and drop off, but then there was this thing before, and she was upset, and we were fine in the car ride, but she was just upset, and it bugged me. And so then it was like 2 nights ago or something. She's here, and we're sitting for dinner at the table, but she didn't have her little sippy thing of water, which she probably shouldn't be drinking out of, but she likes it. And I was like, Monroe, could you go get your water for me, please? And normally it's just a no response, whatever. She got out of her chair, looked at me, nodded, and went and got her little sippy from wherever it was last, and came back down and sat down. And I pointed out, I said, do you see how this makes me so proud? You just followed an instruction. As basic as that is, but you can see her face light up. Mm-hmm. And there was something recently where she was struggling with writing in school. And I actually sent the picture to Jeff, because the school sends out stuff. They sent like what all the kids worked on. So I'm zooming into the other kids, and I see one of her little friends that's the same age, because she is younger, but the girl that's the same age and a couple other ones are the same age, like they're writing whatever the word was. And I'm like, Jeff, we have a problem. because this, she might as well just put an X. Like, I'm done with this and I'm not writing. And so anyways, I talked to school about it. They sent home these worksheets and we've been worked just a little bit on it. But I told her when she did it, I'm like, Monroe, I am so proud of you. That's amazing that you were able to do that. And she lights up. And I remember as being a teenager, even with my parents, where it was burnt in my head, and I've been trying to figure out how they did it, where I just wouldn't make dumb decisions because I knew they would be disappointed. And so that, for however they did it, and they don't even really know how they did it, but I always remember I knew they were proud of me. And that's the one thing that I drive home with her, is that when she does things that are good, or even when there's discipline, I always end it with a hug. Like, you got to come here. You have to know the reason that I'm enforcing these rules is going to make you a better person. And I have to do this, but we all have rules. We all have rules we have to live by, but I need you to, here's the line, and you can put your toe on it and figure it out, but I'm going to tell you the line's staying there. And when you do those things, I just think there's mutual respect there too. And I think that's just important to build from here. I don't know. And I think, when she did that, and then I wrote back to the school and said, so I'd like to have a report when you guys go back to handwriting, because when she lights up like that, you can tell where she'll go to school and then want to tell you about it later. And she's starting to do stuff like that. Like, let me know how that goes. And then she'll tell me, maybe it's a day later or 2 days later or whatever. But it's just kind of amazing to do that and to see that process unfold just naturally, like not knowing what you're really doing, just trying to do your best.
What is your greatest fear right now with regards to Monroe? Because she's a young girl, so I want to hear from your perspective, one of your fears.
I think that one of the biggest fears, and I've shared this with Jeff, and I think we have a mutual fear of this, is that the kids that she grows up with, you do everything you can to parent, and then ultimately they end up going to school for the majority of their youth. You look at 8 hours, whatever it is a day, that they're going with a peer group. And it's making sure she's with the right peer group, because you can parent however you want. But but I think, I also think they get into the wrong peer group because of not a lack of parenting, but maybe not, they want rules. Like, she's not happy about it, but she responds really well to rules. And I think that that's something that if you don't set that up from the beginning, where does she go? And trust. The other thing, she has to trust always. So there's a lot of stuff that, like, I wouldn't even share now about stories with her friends. Right. And that's going to get even more buttoned up, because you start now. I don't want to have an open dialogue about things that happen in her life in terms of like events or play dates or the kids that she plays with, things like that, or things that happen at school so much, because eventually she needs to trust that she can tell me that. Mm-hmm. And there'll be drama with some girl at school or some guy. And she has to trust, because if she can't, she's going to go somewhere else to get it.
It's because she needs a safe space. But I want to share something with you, and I don't mean to interject, but we were going to have this conversation.
Please, I'm just rambling.
No, you're not rambling. But see, here's the thing. I promise you, once you set those rules, boundaries, and things like that in a safe place, Monroe already seems like she's going to be the person, she's going to be the leader, not the follower. Let's be perfectly honest.
She is already.
Okay? Right.
She is already,
she's going to be the one, if something's done, she's going to be the one who, okay, follow me guys to do this. But I promise you, if you continue doing what you're doing, I'm telling you, set these boundaries and let her know she's beautiful, and let her know that, she has confidence. I promise you, I'm putting it out there because I was there. You have that safe space for her to come and talk. She's going to come and talk to you, both you and Jeff. She's going to have that conversation. You're not going to have to worry about, because for me growing up, I never wanted to do marijuana like all my friends. I had my friends snorting coke. Now, mind you, they were my friends. I was around them, but I was snorting coke. I wasn't doing any of that, sneaking out of the house. I didn't feel the need to do any of that.
Right.
Because, and majority of my friends who were doing it, they were doing it because they weren't confident. They were going through a lot of crap with their parents. But again, I didn't want to disappoint my father. And I didn't think it was pressure. I didn't have any pressure like, oh, don't do this. But because he gave me enough rope, so to speak, to hang myself, I didn't have those issues. So you guys are doing, I'm going to be honest, you guys are doing a good job. There isn't a magic pill that you can take for this, because I'm not here to to diss Jeff either, because he's doing a great job.
He's doing, yeah.
Yes.
She's a strong, confident girl.
Yes.
And, you know, I think there's also different, even within living in the same household, if that was still the case, there's different roles you play. You know, there's different things that you do. And she's like, Daddy Jeff's really silly. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? That's what's really fun about him. He's really fun. You're going to always have anytime you're with him, it's going to be a lot of fun. And that's great. But she's like, well, I don't want him to be silly all the time. I said, okay, well, just use your words and communicate that to him, but he'll adjust. Like, you just have to communicate. And so it's stuff like that, you know, you again, you make the best of what it is in the households that you're in. And I'm pretty sure we both mutually encourage the other household, and that it's good, and that, you know, we both love her so much, and that's why she has two. So that's the uniqueness of this, is that you obviously love a kid so much. And I know a few other people that have stayed married much longer. The kids were older and they just didn't want to do it. And, you know, again, that's situational. I don't think you can judge anything. You can't judge anything, because there will always be three sides to every story. And I don't care who you are, there's three sides to mine probably. And I think that you just do the best you can. That's all you can do.
Are you dating?
I'm not.
Inquiring minds want to know.
I mean, I think, look, I'm open to the idea, but it's COVID, first of all. And it's not really like, I've been very, very fortunate to have the business that I've had and to grow the business that I've had. Because for whoever's watching who doesn't know, I also, in addition to being with my ex Jeff for 10 years, I also ran chunks of his business, and we worked together for probably 9 of those 10 years. And so shortly after I left, I was still winding down some of his business, and then I started on my own. So it was kind of the last couple of years have been a little bit of some growing, but I'm super grateful for the work and the clients that I have, and then I'm also in the growth that has happened in the last year. The stuff that's grown is, I just feel so lucky and fortunate and valued. And I think, you know, for that part, that's obviously a major focus. It's how I support my kid and her clothes and her food and her school tuition. And there's a lot of stuff that is a little misconstrued, that Gage is doing anything for money, because there's been no money. Gage has done it all. So, and Gage still pays half that tuition. So, but Adrian, I think that,
let me read some
dating
comments.
is like a little.
Adrian, okay, we're gonna get you connected. Okay, I already know the perfect person. No, Adrian, just consider me your sister. Okay, Adrian Santa Cruz says that you're doing an amazing job, and
Sweet.
I posted that Jeff is doing a fabulous job too, because at the end of the day, I am very cautious, and I want to be, because here's the thing, we have social media and this lives on forever. So I'm not going to be a part of the bashing of Jeff. No, I'm not going to be a part of that, because Monroe is going to see this one day. So whatever your feelings are, you just put that aside, because this is not the platform for this. And I so appreciate all the people who are watching this, because the reason I reached out is because we always talk about single moms. But what the hell is going on with single dads? Let's show some love to single dads too, or single dads who are co-parenting. This is why I want to do this. This is why I wanted to do the show. Shannon Baker said, if your child isn't mad at you at least once a day, you aren't doing a good job. Oh my God.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Because you're going to be getting I hate you right now, that whole Pink song. You're going to be getting that, especially when she's a teenager, slamming of the doors and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I agree, Shannon. Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with
agree.
Well, look, I'm from a Black parent. We can't do that, because if we do that, we would lose our teeth. The doors would be off their hinges. So I was doing it in my mind. I would go over to my friend's house and they would say these things to their parents. And I'm like, and I think I did something like this. I think I rolled my eyes at my dad one day. He's like, do you want to lose your eyes? I said, but Lisa does it. Well, we're not Lisa. We're not white. Yeah. We don't do that here. And I'm like, okay, chill out. But you're going to get that once a day. So Shay Wood said, I would love to know them. I miss what. Oh, she's talking about flipping out, that she misses flipping out. And I agree with you, because I liked when Gage was on it, and it's so true, because you were the project manager. Let me tell you something. I had some issues with you when you was on that show. And the
Well,
issues
so
I had,
here's, yeah,
no, let me tell you
tell me
my
your
issues
issues
first.
and I'll
No,
clarify.
it's not bad. It was you. If you something need to be because you were the project manager, basically, you were doing a lot of things. You wanted to make sure things would come in under budget, or at budget. And I love that part. But I'm like, oh wow. So you were the person who were like cracking the whip. This needs to be done. That needs to be done. Not in a bad way. I'm just joking with you when I said I didn't like that, or I was having an issue. You were doing a lot of things. So I think if people were to go back to watch those shows, they saw the contribution that you gave to not just the show, but also to the company.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I would caution you from going back to watch it. I feel like I'm quite a bit of a different person now. Who I've surrounded myself with, I'm also very grateful for, and the friend group and the other parents and things like that that are just, yeah, I think you are what you put out, obviously, that old saying. And I think that your energy is reflective of those that you keep around. And that I think has definitely shifted a lot from even the time of the show. But I don't watch any of them, but I know people who have since, and they comment, and I'm like, look, I was really that guy. I was not super happy, and I was stressed, and that was it was a stressful time situation. And you watched that, you didn't know some of the other things going on, whether it's in the business or clients or other stuff that was happening. It just was reflective of where everything was at. So I don't think I'm in that space anymore, as I feel like my energy level is a little bit different. But yeah, so, and I don't know. I have no idea if that show's coming back. I don't,
Well,
I'm not involved. I certainly probably will not be invited back.
I sent out some paperwork to some of my judge friends, and it just came back. So formally, we're adopted. We're brothers and sisters now.
Oh,
So the
great.
paperwork
Okay,
just
cool.
came in. So
Right. So what holidays, your house or mine this year?
both. Well, after COVID, Jay Boyd said, and I love this question, this was a great platform to hear from Gage's side and his experience of parenting. It sounds like from both perspectives, they're doing better as co-parent as they go. I agree with you, Jay Boyd. I agree with you on that one.
Well, thank you for that too. And I do think, prior to this opening up publicly and everyone knowing where Jeff and I were at, we were actually kind of, I guess you say, conscious uncoupling. He and I and a few very close friends kind of knew that we were like juggling with, we're not really sure. And I think that we were really good friends towards the end, like pretty strong. And so the issue is that once it was opened up, publicly, and people started really weighing in, there were a whole different story took place. And so I that's what I hold on to in terms of hope. And we have exchanges more frequently recently that are really nice. He kind of threw out an olive branch recently. I had to drop something off for her and invited me into the house to see it, because we exchange on the curb. Like there's nothing further than that. And so it was kind of a nice warm thing. It was a little weird for me to go into that house and I did text him that later, but it was a nice thing. I do believe we'll get back there. It may take 5 or 10 years, but I think or it could be faster. We're both people that there's a lot of stuff that he's said that I feel like is hurt. And like, to your point, these are all things that live longer. And he'll share his story with Monroe. I'll share mine. I don't think it has to be bashing. I want her to have her, and I've said this before, I think I did an Instagram several months ago. And I just said, to clarify, that would be stroking my own ego to try to like repair anything that was said. I don't care about that. I don't want the back and forth for her to have to deal with. She'll have her own experiences. And I don't even want to, like, what happened in our own personal relationship, he's still your dad. It doesn't matter. And I think that she has to have her own experiences with him. No one should guide what it was or what she should think. And it's vice versa. I feel like it's the same. All I can do is love my kid and guide her to the point where you open the show that she's not on a pole later. And I think, look, some people have to make money that way. That happens. So it is what it is. And sometimes you have to survive how you survive. But I want a strong, confident girl that's able to guide and make her own decisions in life, and have, you know, that confidence. There was a quote that I was randomly looking at this morning that kind of parlays into this, but it was Vince Lombardi. He said, "Confidence is contagious, and so is a lack of confidence." And I think that that's what you reflect as a parent and where you're at. That's why you pick it up and why you attract your dad or your mom or whoever in your later relationships. You attract that. So I want her to be a confident girl. I want her to be self-sufficient. And you know, you do what you can to try to parent.
Amanda, I'm going to ask that question. I'm kind of nervous, but I'm going to ask that question because, but I guess because towards the latter part of the relationship, you can tell I listened to Jeff, or I was listening to Jeff, where you were experiencing Jeffrey. Okay, that's what you're experiencing, Jeffrey. Because when he talks about Jeffrey, it blows my mind. When he talks about Jeffrey. So Amanda, now look, don't shoot the messenger, bro. Okay, I'm just gonna read the question. Amanda wants to know.
I love that I'm your bro now, legally.
Yes.
We just patch that up.
Any chance of a reconciliation with Jeff? I'm just reading the comments. I'm not putting anything in. I'm just reading the comments.
I mean, you just don't know. You don't know. You know, there's quite a history there. We have a whole history to write, regardless if we're together. And I think that if we could repair that, you know, I still think there's obviously still mutual love both ways. Yeah. Of course, we brought a kid into the world. Like we do love each other. Definitely doesn't always seem that way, but that'll always be there. And you know, I don't think you ever rule anything out. Who knows? Who knows? But for right now, it'd be nice to just repair and have a friendship.
Right, and that's what I want to see you guys repair and have a friendship.
Yeah. And for my daughter and for our daughter, that's what I want most.
Right,
I want, and you know, come over for dinner, hang out. Like we need to keep. And I do think we may be better co-parenting than together. I mean, you're co-parenting in the same house, but you know, I do wonder that maybe we're good at that. We can be good at that. Because it's different, you know, it's just a little bit of a different way of life. And I think that's totally normal and good for her to see both sides.
Because I'm watching some of his shows, and, you know, on, someone just mentioned it on Jeff's XM show. And he's going to therapy. He's doing the work. And okay, I'm not putting a bid for you and Jeff to get together, but I just loved you.
No, I'm not either. But I'm saying I'd never say never to anyone.
Right. I loved you too. But then again, here's the thing. I wasn't in that relationship. You know what I'm saying? So we can love it, but we weren't living in that relationship, because let's say if he and I were in that relationship, I'd probably be ripping his head off. I don't know. But on the outside, we just love the aesthetics of you and him together. But again, we have to respect right now what we're all doing. We want you guys to be, you know, develop a friendship, great co-parenting, because you're doing that now. And Leslie just made a comment. Leslie said, I feel like as time goes on for the both of you, you'll be able to open up your hearts and accept each other as friends. You both want the best for Monroe. Agreed. And will do anything for her. She's lucky to have you both. Oh my God. Yes, she is.
It's very sweet. It's very sweet. And yeah, I think with time, things will heal. And I think that's best that, I think it's just best we try to repair that friendship. And look, it wasn't just optics. Jeff and I were a great team. Yes. We really were. Yeah. I actually, for a moment, we were trying to figure out if we could continue working together, and that ultimately didn't work. But we're a good team. And it's interesting because in what we've gone through, I feel like I kind of still know Jeff's next step. Like I can kind of see where I'm like, okay, it's just chess. It's like, okay, well, he's going to play that now. And then he's going to throw me a few curveballs. It's true that he has done that.
Right.
But, you know, I think that end of the day, there's obviously still love there. I think a lot of what's been said and the slinging has been actually, as twisted as it is, I think it's out of love. And I think that it's also, you know, it's just seeing two different sides of how I think you parent and fighting for it. You know, I think that it's a protection mechanism for him as well, even though I don't agree with what it is. I see I see what's going on. I understand.
Kim says, why does Gage feel that the custody case is still open per Jeff's XM show?
I don't really know if I want to talk about it.
Right.
I just, yeah, I feel like, just generically speaking, child custody cases are sealed documents. You are not supposed to know anything about them. And I think that what's been said about it is not, there's not a lot to say. We're very close at a 50-50. Monroe sleeps in a different bed every night. So I don't see how that long-term works. And I think that it's good to have consistency in both houses, to have a little bit of balance and to, look, I don't want to not see her for 3 days, but who knows if you said, hey, why don't you come over for dinner on the second night and have some kind of communal moment. I don't know where that goes, and I just think for her to have a landing pad for 3 days and know what that is or whatever the breakdown of time is, the back and forth is really difficult. And it doesn't allow you to, I think as a kid, especially we're talking, you're laying the groundwork and the foundation of things you then build from. And it's very difficult I don't think she has an issue quite yet, but how do you not see that issue coming up where, she's just back and forth? And it would be nice to have a few days, and that's all I'll really say. That's kind of what the meat of the whole situation truly is.
And that's fair enough.
And so I think that we're getting closer. It's unfortunate how it's happened, but I think we're close.
What can we do as the viewers? Well, I'm your sister now, so I'm not a viewer. But what can we do?
Call whenever.
What can we do?
I got your text this morning at 5:15. So
did you have to put me on blast like that? What can we do to support you? Because we want to make sure we're supporting you. Because
set up a GoFundMe page and just start sending the money.
Writing that down right now.
Totally
kidding.
Please don't.
Yeah, what can we do to support you?
I mean, it's not necessarily supporting me. I think that I've definitely, feel like my eyes are open to it's so weird to say it, but it's just love each other and understand too, because I was guilty of it, being very judgmental of situations or people or things going on. You just don't know. You don't know what goes on in their private life, in their whatever. So you've got to kind of take even there's been situations recently, whether it's in work or friends or things, where people sort of lash out. And I actually take a totally polar opposite versus saying F that person and just go out. It's like, I wonder what's going on with them. What, do they need something? Do you just treat it a little differently? Because maybe obviously with everyone in the last year, a tremendous amount of stress and things, just the level of uncertainty and the amount of people who don't have work and don't have there's so many things that are at play that people are on edge. So if they're being a jerk, maybe just ask them how they are, check in instead, bypass that part of the issue. There's probably something else going on. And I've been very lucky to have people like that in my life that will kind of dig into that. Even some that I work with, they'll just call to just say, hey, how are you? What's going on? Where are things at? And it's nice to have that. So I think as we're going into the year anniversary of this lockdown, it's just checking in with those people and seeing how they are. And that's you don't need to support me, just support who's around you.
And thank you for saying that, because it's just that you were so silent and we didn't know what was going on your end, and we just wanted to make sure, because you seemed like a good guy, just like the person said, well, how do we know you're doing? I have a knack, believe it or not, I have a knack of just choosing right people and just wanting to know how they're doing. So Alicia has a comment, and he cannot answer that question, Alicia, out of respect of Monroe and the case or whatever's going on. Alicia wants to know, why didn't Gage want a private judge? Is it true that it would have moved things faster? We can't really answer that question. Let's wait for this to work out, however it's going to work out, and then we'll see what's going to happen. I appreciate your question, but he mentioned earlier that he really doesn't want to comment on things like that. So we'll just move along with the next question. Shay wants to know, how can we hire Gage as an interior design work for us? Okay, Gage, how can they reach out to you, contact you, or whatever?
Very sweet, Shay. I've had some people reach out on Instagram. I have a site, but it's not set up. A lot of the people, I've done been, again, very fortunate. I've done a lot of work in the last, I don't know, 18 months, whatever it is. That there's always non-disclosures with these deals, and I can't show pictures. So you look at my Instagram, it's like I'm clearly a dad, but there's so many like beautiful spaces and things that so it's like the site would just basically be an email address. So you can DM me and I'll look at stuff to see if it's something that I could do. But yeah, that's kind of been, there's been a lot of just a referral type business that I've been dealing with, and projects that continue on. And again, very fortunate. I wish I could show you what's going on. I think there's a couple that I probably can in the next few months. But it's been difficult because it's, you know, it's just, yeah. And some people don't want the pictures out, even though you wouldn't know where the space is. And you respect it. You know, they have more work. So, and they also don't want me getting other work. So it's like, no, you can't show pictures. We don't want you to, who would hire you then? So I don't know. So yeah, I wish I could show you. I actually, I've done some really cool stuff, but yeah, reach out to me, Shay, and I'll look at it and see if there's, and if I can't, if there's a way I could help you.
Okay, let me pop my collar now, okay? Because
yes,
I'm going to read these comments and let me answer them. I want you to remain quiet, okay?
I'll just check out.
This platform, again, we're all about putting light on people, sharing ideas. Just, it's a positive space. Okay, now let me read the comments.
And just can I, before you say it, could we just try to live in that space?
We're going to live in that space.
Because I have a feeling I know what's coming, but
but I got this. I need you to drink your coffee and let me handle this.
I'll just leave and go make another.
Right. Because my job is to make sure you're in a safe space and no one's going to attack you. This is how I am with all my guests. So I have someone by the name of Alan Monte, who says, you're nothing but an opportunist. Again, I don't want you to comment. Let me comment because I will mute you. You are nothing but an opportunist and a scumbag. I hope Jeff, let me finish. I hope Jeff demolishes your ass. And I'm one of those, I'm reading all comments where my other colleagues won't read negative comments.
My cheeks hurt from that.
Okay. I'm sure he has stolen Jeff's ideas. Alan, so I asked Alan, who's the opportunist? And he says, who are you scamming now? Scam artist, share your email. Okay, that Alicia's different. Okay, so let me address Alan, okay? What you don't know, Alan, is this show's gonna live on forever. We don't want Monroe reading these things about her dad, okay? No, so I can tell that you're a Jeff fan. I'm a Jeff fan, and I'm also, I'm also Gage's fan. But I'm not going to be one of those people where they break up, I'm with this one, I'm not with that one, and I'm not there. I don't know Jeff like that. But I do respect Jeff. He's a wonderful guy, wonderful guy. I would never, even if I had Jeff on my show, I would read those comments and try to check you. Okay, because I'm going to check you right now. Okay, this is not the place for this. Okay, and I'm doing this because Monroe does not need to hear this or see this. You're thinking, well, oh, she won't see this. You don't know, maybe a friend's mom may be watching this and may say this around her daughter, and then her daughter goes back and repeat this. So let's agree to respect each other. If you don't like him, then get the hell off my platform. Okay, I'm going to say that now, because this is a platform for you to ask questions, not to be disrespectful. Again, this is coming from me. This is not coming from him. Because again, if I had Jeff on the platform, I would not want anyone to say anything disrespectful to Jeff. So let's agree to disagree. So go on your little troll way and keep it moving. Now, back to our regular broadcasting. Now, Alicia wants to know, share your email for anyone in the LA area. I think it's on is it on your Instagram page?
You can just DM on Instagram.
You can DM him on Instagram. He'll respond to DMing him on Instagram. And especially, he doesn't want to disclose it now because after, the stuff that
do you know what kind of shit I'd get? What's funny about that is that it was Andy Cohen that told Jeff that, I think, a long time ago. And Jeff told me when I first came on the show, because by the way, I didn't really want to be on the show anyway. And I dodged it for 2 years. And they just said, don't let the negative or the positive affect your way of life. And that kind of always stuck. Like, I have such a good group of people around. You're now my sister. Like, I mean, how lucky am I? So it's, it's interesting to me that people in this day and age, and obviously you have technology to hide behind stuff, but to want to lash out, and you're not even like totally cognizant of the fact of how you got that information that then boiled, and you're so upset and so angry, and the core of what you're saying isn't at all like, it's just fascinating how we got to that place. Overall, I think, we've had a lot of tumultuous stuff going on, but where people write stuff like that, and I see it. I mean, I've heard it, I've seen it, I've read it, I've all of that stuff. And it's like, you don't even really know that situation at all to speak to that, to say those things about a person. And I always think that too, like, especially parents who jump on that bandwagon, and some of whom I know have known, and they jump on the bandwagon and throw the stuff at, and it's like, you're a parent. Can you imagine your kid or me saying this about you and your other parents, your co-parent? That's unbelievable that you think that that's okay. But I mean, to each their own. You can say it's not. I have very, very, very thick skin, and
Look,
it's
so
nothing
do I.
really.
But see, let me tell you something. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm Jamaican and Cuban. I don't play that.
I just
Okay.
want your skin, because I had the line. I was
Shoot.
just saying that 32 years of marriage. Look at you.
Don't play this. Don't play this, Alan. Not on my page. We don't play
Don't
this.
mess with
Okay.
that.
So Gwen said, how about this? You and Jeff buy a house next to each other or on the same street.
Jeff's price range is a little higher than mine right now.
So he's priced out of the community. That's what
Yeah,
he's saying.
I'm in a different zip code.
Tax bracket.
Yeah.
It's just
For
so
now,
great.
I don't really. Yeah.
This
See
is
what
what
happens.
because you were so serious on flipping out, and this, I knew you had this in you. I knew this was you. You're funny. I knew this was you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and yeah, I think even in work now, like, this is kind of who I am, and I have been lucky enough to enjoy the people that I work with, and I think even the parenting stuff too. It's funny because we joke that we hope that all of our kids like each other, because I picked the parents, they picked
Right.
me, and we have a great time with the kids doing play dates and stuff like that, and it's just good people. It's good people. Keep good people around you. And it's even, I don't remember the guy's name already that said the horrible stuff, but it's like, I go to that too, and I think, what's going on in your life that you have the time to deal with that, to think that, to then come on here to write it, and not come here to just try to learn something, to whatever you want to do, hear from somebody talk, I don't know, but to have the hate on that, it's like, ugh, gosh, that sucks.
And while that's going on, someone else texted me who's watching the show, and they're like, well, maybe he was sent by Jeff. Okay, so let me get into that. I don't want to believe that's happening, because he is not like that. I don't know Jeff, but he would never send anyone on the page to write anything like that. So let's change that narrative as well, because he's aware that Monroe may see this or something like that. So I'm not, when I say I'm for team both, because you're raising a well-adjusted child. She's so confident. When I listen to his show and the things that she says that she's not going to do, and listening to you guys are doing a great job. I mean, let's face it, raising a child is a hit or miss. Let's face it, there's no book that says she'll turn out like this, and there isn't a book for this.
You have to adapt. Yeah, you have to adapt, I think, to each kid. I know people with multiple kids, and they're all so different. And seeing some of them go through like teenage stuff, that the age range of the 13, 15 range to 17, 18, it's just like those problems you don't even realize is our first kid, the things that are gonna come up, and the issues, and there's a lot of challenges that you have to be preparing for right now. You have to be preparing her for them, because those kids they're like whoever just commented that they cut.
Where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself, let's say, in 6? Now, I was going to say 5 years. That's too far. Let's say after the pandemic, it's over, 3 years from now. Where do you see yourself?
I think there's another kid.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's another kid in that 3-year window. I think she needs it. I want to do it. So I think there's another kid for sure. And I'm very happy with where I'm at right now, and the sort of the trajectory of friends and work and all of those things to be able to, that's the thing that's annoying, is like that I'm a gold digger or like opportunistic. It's like I'm making this happen on my own. So
Why are you
give me a
commenting on
break.
that
Like
stuff?
give me a break. You know, like that's, you don't even realize that part. You have my bank statements. Like, do you know what happens? So I think that that's part, like I'm just trying to make my way and figure out my stuff and be an example for my daughter, as well as Jeff's being an example for her, that that we're doing what we need to do for work and for the people that we have around, and we're just providing safe houses for her, and she's, you know, got a home and she's got a lot of love. And I think that that's, you know, the 3-year thing is just growing what I already have been doing, and adding a little bit more, having another one in the family. And I, to Jeff's point too, I think he's commented on this. I don't care if it's with someone. That's not like a deal. I need to be with somebody to have it. It's not that at all. So I just think that it's something that I want to do in my life. I'm 35 now, so I'd love to have another one before 40 for sure, but we'll see what happens.
Well, Michael Foucault Rizzo says, yay for another baby. I agree. Yep, we need to see another one running around. Teresa wants to know, do you have a relationship with Jenny? Will Monroe get to see her godmother?
I do not have a relationship with her. I don't.
Okay.
And you know what kind of transpired there between the two of them, and she's kind of quasi reached out through mutual people, but not to the point of saying like, hey, I'd like to see him. They just said, I think she'd be open to talking to you if you wanted, but it's not, you know, there's things that we all went through, and you know, I think that there's just certain points where obviously wish her well, and her girls are adorable, and you know, she's being a mom, and Jonathan's great, and you know, all those things. But these things kind of, like, I'm always grateful for her. She introduced me to Jeff, and even in what's gone on, people have been like, "Do you regret it?" Absolutely not. The Jeff and I, again, we're a great team, and we're now parenting a beautiful little girl together. That's such an amazing thing. And Jenny really was the impetus to that starting. She introduced us. So I'm always grateful. I just think that, you know, sometimes relationships and friendships and things, they just run a course.
They evolve.
And they ran the course, and and they evolve, and you're grateful for what it was. It doesn't have to be, I don't have ill will towards her. She did what she needed to do at the time, or what it's all alleged anyway. So I don't totally know. I just know that it's not in my wheelhouse right now.
Well, it's a season. Everyone comes into your life for a season now. Miss Leslie, I'm loving Miss Leslie right now. If you were in front of me, I think I'd hug you and kiss you, okay? Miss Leslie's remark was and is, I truly believe that they've both evolved and become much better versions of themselves. I love to see this side of Gage. Girl, me too. I'm gonna try to get him on once a month. I love seeing this side of Gage. The show has just a glimpse into what they were years ago. That's true. We all grow and change, and for both of, I definitely agree with that. So she's saying that, you know, she likes this version of you, or not even just like the version of you, this side of you that we never got to see on the show, because it was basically work. You know, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, as a project manager or project director is supposed to do, because you're making sure Jeff has the vision and you're making sure the vision is coming true. You know, you're basically making sure things are ran the way it's supposed to run. So I definitely agree with you, Miss Leslie, on that. I'm digging this dude. Can I get some hearts or something? Because I'm digging him. I know y'all digging him too.
Well, let's do it again.
Cool.
I think that this is great. There's a million things we could talk about that I think could just keep going. So I'm more than happy to be back and to do it again. And I think what you're doing in terms overall, just with content, and if you end up watching more of the content of the Women Are Worthy show, I just think it's great, and I think that it's empowering, and it covers certain issues that pop up in people's lives, and there's just so much to always talk about. And I think that if you keep it positive and keep it upbeat, I just think you live in that space, you attract that to your life. It just keeps snowballing, and it's a good thing. So
I agree, because I'm all about manifestation and being positive, because I'm allergic to negativity. It makes me break out in pimples and stuff. So I can't deal
who
with
wants a
negative
pimple?
people.
Yeah.
Not I, not an adult acne, not I. So I just deal and work in positivity, and I mentor young girls and boys, and I talk about being positive. I am not saying not to be realistic, but I don't look at the glasses half full or half empty. I just say, give me the damn pitcher and I'll pour whatever I want to pour in the glass. That's what I do in my space. Shay just sent a whole bunch of hearts. I mean, you have so many people supporting you and your endeavors and what you're doing, because you're all about being positive. We like the fact that you and Jeff are doing a great job co-parenting, because no one's here to bash anyone. You guys are doing a great job. When she's with you, she's phenomenal. When she's with Jeff, she's phenomenal. We wish him the best. We wish you the best. But you just happen to be, I sent in the adoption papers. I don't know what's going on with his, but yours came through and it's approved.
Perfect.
So we want to thank everyone for tuning
Thank
in
you.
to the Women Are Worthy Network. And if you're watching us on Facebook, the Women Are Worthy Show. And again, please just go out and be positive. Let's support, because at the end of the day, they're raising a young lady, a little girl. We don't want her to read these negative comments. I mean, I don't even want, if you see them, to make these negative comments, but at the end of the day, this thing was on. We don't want her to read this. We don't want her friends. And when I meant her, she's too small to read it, her friends' parents could be on here. And kids, you're saying things and you don't think they're listening, and they're listening. So that's what I want people to do. Let's just shed positive vibes to both, to Jeff and Gage. And for those of you that are wanting them to get together, you never know what may happen later on in the future, because I want them together too. But I want what's best for them both. Right now, they need to just focus not on being in a relationship. They have to focus on being a great co-parent to Monroe.
Well said.
Okay, so I wish you the best. I want
Thank
you
you
again.
so much for having me, and I, of course, will come back. Yeah.
You have an open invitation. Your sister here in Georgia, you have an open invitation, and just let us know if there's anything that we can do. If you're doing things you want us to post, work related, and I know some things you can't do, but if there's anything, Shay, make sure you connect with him and see if there's some synergy, where I'm sure there is, because he's a great guy. Give him some business, because he got to take care of Monroe. So, but he's talented, not just because of the money, but your personality. I just knew you were like this, Gage. I'm like, no, he was like your face was like you ate sour lemons or something. And now you're just smiling. We're seeing this beautiful smile. Shay just said that they just DM'd you. Okay, so check your Instagram page. Leslie says, I love you, Gage. Leslie, be careful. He's my brother. Be careful of using the word love. You're in life with him. I'm the only one that can love him, because I'll fight you for Gage, okay?
You guys are so sweet. Thank you so much for having me. I love this, and I'll be back soon for sure.
Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Have a wonderful day and have a great week. Have a great weekend, Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Bye-bye.
Thank you.